Hello there, I'm Kios, Ronin Beatmaker, and welcome to Ronin Art and Music, home to Ronin Music, Lounge Ronin, all things, everything, the Monday Mindset, Rants, and Ronin Reviews. We strive to make holistic and authentic content that aims to improve your individuality, mental fortitude, and peace of mind. If you're new to the channel, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring that notification bell. Stay positive, stay focused, stay true, and much love. Now, back to the show. This article was written and updated July 6, 2020 by Pierluigi Tombetti. Interesting name. Now, I will apologize in advance if I screw up any pronunciations. So I apologize in advance. But here we go. Quote, in 1929, Heisenberg spent some time in India. He began to see that the recognition of relativity and interconnectedness and impermanence as fundamental aspects of physical reality, which had been so difficult for himself and his fellow physicists, was the very basis of the Indian spiritual traditions. End quote. That was by Friedrich Kappa, Uncommon Wisdom, Flamingo, 1989. I might have to look that book up. The ancient Hindu text known as the Vedas possesses elements common to both quantum physics and the concept of synchronicity. Why? Ancient Hindu texts teaching quantum physics, the Veda, and the Unpanished. Quote, the access to the Vedas is the greatest privilege this century may claim over all previous centuries. End quote. Robert Oppenheimer. Very fitting for the movie that has recently come out. The Vedas are a collection of Hindu texts gathered in four fundamental collections: Rig Veda, Samaveda, Yajurveda, Atharva Veda, which preserve the millenary religious wisdom of the Aryans, a population settled in northwestern India around the 20th century BC. The oldest part of the Rigveda Samhita dates back to an age between 1500 and 1200 BC. These are hymns, poems, mantras, and mythological tales written in Vedic Sanskrit, despite being counted among the oldest texts of mankind. These present extremely interesting concepts for physicists and mathematicians. Now, we're going to do a quick dive into the Vedas, but I will let you guys know that I will be doing a live stream on the origins of the Aryan race. I'm not going to tell you when. Just take a view. You'll see the notification and you'll see the thumbnail. But you know, I think what's very fitting, and I haven't seen Oppenheimer, so I don't know if in Oppenheimer they cover or discuss any of his studies on Hindu texts. I would be very curious if they did. I would not be surprised if they didn't. But, you know, in my mind, I would figure that Christopher Nolan would be aware of that. But, you know, I don't know if maybe that type of rhetoric and information might be a little too taboo for American audiences. I'm not sure. I'm just wondering here, like, what, why would, and I'm honestly, I would speculate that I've seen several reviews and people talk about it. It seems like they don't talk about him studying the Vedas in relation to guiding him towards creating the atom bomb, which I think is kind of funny and not surprising, because this is typical of history. We're not gonna let people know that it was a bunch of Hindu texts that inspired a white man to create an atom bomb. It's no different than me recently learning that Hippocrates went and studied at the temple of Ahem-hotep in Egypt, and you could fundamentally just say that the basis for modern medicine came from Egypt and started from Africans. But that's a whole nother conversation, and I'm not here to trigger anybody with that. But the essence of what I'm trying to get at is that it's very telling to me that the more we study history, the more that we realize, oh man, we're being lied to, manipulated, and excuse me, and forced to undergo this strange trauma. And it's just sad. It's sad to see. But let's learn some more about the Vedas, because I feel that as we learn more about the Vedas, we will get a better understanding of the spiritual connection to quantum physics. And I would say, it's no surprise. I guess we could argue that they're one and the same. All right. This was updated August 22nd, 2019. The Hindu Vedas, charms, myths, and formulas for enlightenment. The Vedas are the sacred scriptures of Hinduism and are regarded as the oldest religious text in the world, thought to have been composed at least 3,500 years ago. The Vedas are a collection of hymns, magical incantations, dramatic mythological accounts, and sacred formulas for enlightenment. There are 4 Vedas: the Rig Veda, the Sama Veda, the Yajur Veda, and the Atharva Veda, each of which may be further subdivided into 4 parts: the Samhitas, the Brahmas, the Iryakas, theology, and Upanishads, philosophies. So Sumatras, hymns; the Brahmins, rituals; the Iryakas, theology; and the Upanishads, philosophies. Okay. Very interesting. Who wrote the Vedas? What are they about? While it's not entirely clear who wrote the Vedas, it is actually a non-question, as the focus has been traditionally placed on the message rather than on the messenger. Some believe that the Vedas were given directly to the sages from God and then passed down by word of mouth until it was finally codified and written down several hundred years later. Others, on the other hand, believe that the Vedas were revealed by the sages themselves. So here we have a photo that shows the Vedas being taught. Some believe the Vedas were passed to sages by gods, while others believe the messages came from the sages themselves. So the photo we have sages who look to be teaching their disciples. Generally speaking, the Vedas are composed of Hindu spiritual knowledge that can be applied to all aspects of life. The word Veda itself means wisdom, knowledge, or vision, and the social, legal, and religious customs laid out in the ancient texts continue to have an influence on the lives of Hindu believers today. However, the Vedas themselves are not commonly read even by devout followers of the religion today. The Upanishads, okay, there we go. The Upanishads, on the other hand, are more popular and are often read by theology students around the world. And those are the philosophies. Rig Veda, knowledge of the hymns of praise. The oldest of the four Vedas is the Rig Veda, which means knowledge of the hymns of praise. It is also regarded as the most important Veda and has contributed greatly to other three sets of texts. The Rig Veda consists of 1,028 hymns divided into 10 books called mandalas and is used for recitation. The Rig Veda is an important source of Vedic history and many significant hymns, such as the Purusha Sukta, which gives a description of the spiritual unity of the universe, and the Nasidya Sukta, which is also known as the hymn of creation. And here we have a picture of Rig Veda manuscript in Devagandri in the early 19th century. Samaveda, knowledge of the melodies. Samaveda is used for chanting and is composed almost entirely of verses from the Rig Veda. The fundamental difference between these two Vedas is that the verses from the Rig Veda are arranged in a different way in the Samaveda, so as to facilitate its purpose of being chanted at the Vedic sacrifices. Yajur Veda, knowledge of sacrificial formulas. Yajur Veda means knowledge of sacrificial formulas and contains exemplary prose commentaries on the way religious rites and sacrifices are to be performed. In other words, it functions as a liturgical handbook for priests. This Veda is divided into two parts, the white Yajur Veda and the black Yajur Veda. This Veda has been compared in function to the ancient Egyptian Book of the Dead, which I think is very interesting. The reason why I say that is because it just kind of makes you wonder, and it's just very interesting. Excuse me for a moment. We have the Egyptian Book of the Dead. Now we have the Hindu Book of the Dead. Yeah, I'm curious if there are other, cultures out there that have their own version of the Book of the Dead. What about in North mythology, up in Europe? Is there one in South America? And, I think what's interesting about this is that, for me, it kind of makes me wonder how deep into the Vedas did Oppenheimer go? Did he practice any forms of rituals to tap into the universe to gain his knowledge? Very similar to like tapping into the Akashic records. Very similar to Edgar Casey, and there are many other individuals out there. I was listening to an interview on Sam Tripoli's Tinfoil Hat. I forgot the woman's name. I apologize, but she was discussing her experiences with being able to tap into the Akashic records, and I wonder if there is a possibility that Oppenheimer himself may have tapped into the Akashic records to gain his own knowledge. Just something to think about. And here we have a photo of which looks like a married couple performing a marriage ritual. And the Yajur Vedas sets out how religious rites and ceremonies are performed. The Athra Veda, knowledge of the magic formulas. The last and youngest of the four Vedas is the Athra Veda, which means knowledge of magic formulas. This Veda is named after a group of priests and is quite different from the three preceding groups of texts. The Athra Veda is more folkloristic in style and consists of charms, spells, and magical incantations. Now, we did a live stream talking about, I did one a minute ago about ancient Mesopotamian magic and ancient Mesopotamian texts that had incantations and even an exorcism spell. So I highly recommend you check that out after this live stream if you're interested in that kind of information and history and knowledge. These include spells aimed at attracting lovers, causing or preventing harm, protecting against diseases and death. Book 1, for example, has several charms against fever, a few charms against poison, and charms against worms for oneself and for one's cattle, for one's children. There are also charms that were meant to combat spiritual rather than physical illness. These include charms against possession by demons of disease and charms for driving away demons. Interesting, demons of disease. That kind of... Sorry, we got Fast and the Furious going on by outside right now. But I think what I was saying is the whole possessions by demons of disease. It kind of reminds me of Warhammer 40K. Shout out to my Warhammer lovers out there. In Warhammer 40K, you have the gods of chaos, and one of them is called Nurgle, and Nurgle is a god of disease. He's a demon god of disease. So I just, I think it's interesting that they're calling it demons of disease. And, you have in this space fantasy world, you have a god of disease, which is very similar to, the four horsemen and things of that nature. I just find it very fascinating when you kind of look at the similarities to our fictional stories and the similarity to our actual, religious and historical texts. You can see the inspiration and a little bit of just kind of how I like to kind of put it is like, disclosure through our entertainment, which is, no surprise, but it's, for me, I kind of look at the more obscure kind of entertainment out there that people don't really know, that the modern people don't really get into, and you start really seeing some very, very interesting stuff, especially if you look into the lore of the video game series Destiny. You see a lot of similarities to things that are going on in the world and stuff like that. Can't really say too much of it because I don't really want my YouTube channel to get in trouble. So yeah, but it's very interesting. The Veda is considered by some as not belonging to the Vedas at all, although it has not been noted with that regards to the study of Vedic history and science and uh, sociology. It is next in importance to the Rig Veda. Here we have a photo of an image of the Codex Kashminarius Folia 187 from the Athra Veda Samhita. Gosh, I apologize, man. These are some tongue twisters here. But don't worry, make my tongue nice and strong for the next date. If you catch my drift. Alrighty. The importance of the Vedas apart from religion. While the Vedas are best known as a source of spiritual knowledge, they are also significant for the material knowledge they contain. The Vedas are recognized as having made much contribution to modern knowledge and science. For example, in the field of mathematics, the concept of zero, infinity, as well as decimal system have been found in the Vedas. Moreover, some of the material knowledge from the Vedas has been confirmed by modern science. These include Vedic cosmology and the use of mantras to enhance the overall well-being of the individual. Now, notice where it says mantras to enhance the overall well-being of an individual. And this is something that I thoroughly believe in, and I can confirm from my own life is that what we say and what we speak, it does impact our physical and mental well-being. And I have my own mantras that I say to myself every day and during my prayers. And I see a difference in myself every time I say them, even if I have to repeat it multiple times to get it in there, because I tend to be pretty stubborn. But the point that I'm trying to make is that, when it's just interesting whether you look at biblical hymns, whether it's Hindu hymns, right, whether it's Judaic, or even Islamic hymns, or in mantras, you look at, for example, Rumi, who's a very famous philosopher and poet of Islam, and he has some incredible phrases and mantras. One of my favorite that he has is "Be like melting snow, wash yourself of yourself." And I feel like when you can repeat things like that to yourself, especially in particular moments or incidents, there is a spiritual release that I feel that many of us can kind of feel and gravitate towards, kind of almost like a little bit of a minor reset to our system. Whether you want to believe in that this is a computer algorithm, whatever you want to believe in, how this plane of existence operates. When we have words and we have a belief system that supports and enhances our words, it makes our existence on this plane that much more navigatable, that much more pleasurable, that much more wiser, however you need it for that particular day, week, month, year. But what I'm trying to infer is that these are really important things to keep in mind, beliefs to learn from, because clearly it had some effect on Oppenheimer, and he was able to create the atom bomb. How many other scientific, religious, social individuals were inspired by the Vedas that then led to further rediscoveries of ancient knowledge? I'm just saying, these are things that many people will take for granted. whether it's because it conflicts, and I put it in quotation marks, with their religious beliefs. But it's kind of ironic when you start learning that that Christ may have been the reincarnation of Buddha, since Buddha predates Christianity. But I'm not here to tell you who's first, who came last, which religion is the best. My whole point is that we need to be more open-minded with our belief system and giving it better guidance and knowledge and wisdom and words that help to further our capabilities. And the reason why I keep bringing up Oppenheimer is because we know that he studied the Vedas. We know he studied these texts. What knowledge did he gain? And because of such knowledge, the aftermath cost, whether or not you want to believe that it was atom bombs that killed, I'm not here for all of that. But what I'm talking about is it gave him the knowledge. And then what was the consequences of that knowledge? His entire life was turned completely upside down. And, it's like, was it him, studying the Vedas, or was it the fact that he was having so much sex with commies that it gave him the knowledge to defeat one of the greatest axes of evil of that era? I don't know. But listen, all I know is that sometimes coochie can do incredible things to the mind. But I digress. The point that I'm trying to make here is that we as individuals, as humans, we can't take this knowledge for granted, and we can't ignore how incredible and influential this knowledge is for our mental being and our capabilities of understanding the universe. And I think for anyone out there, if you are a religious person, if you are a spiritual person, agnostic, or you don't have any care for it, fine. But at least take time to at least study it and be aware of its importance. That way, when someone says something about it that you think it's nonsense or whatever, you can't be coming out of there talking out of your ass looking foolish. And there are a lot of people that love talking out of their ass, and it makes the entire room smell awful. And that's my point right there. Enough of a Ronin rant. Let's get back into it. Hello there, I'm Kios, Ronin Beatmaker, and welcome to Ronin Art and Music, home to Ronin music. Lounge Ronin, all things, everything. The Monday Mindset, Rants, and Ronin Reviews. We strive to make holistic and authentic content that aims to improve your individuality, mental fortitude, and peace of mind. If you're new to the channel, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring that notification bell. Stay positive, stay focused, stay true, and much love.